And we welcome you into the Rowdy Studios. Bassmasters and Buzz Cutler sitting alongside to talk about the Geico 400. A guy finished second often gets overlooked. Kevin Harvick won at Richmond last week. Now he comes to Chicagoland and runs second. Both those tracks are very good for him. So is New Hampshire. Kevin Harvick's now your points leader.
Yeah, and you got to like that he went from a short track like Richmond to a mile and a half and recorded podium finishes 2 weekends in a row.
Now, fuel mileage wasn't a factor, but he was still pretty fast.
Well, fuel mileage was a factor in that he had to save gas to a point and do it in such a way, walk that line of saving gas but not giving up too much space.
Well, some of the guys that seemed to be faster than Kevin, or at least as fast, ran out. And he also was able to just get back to the gas and go when some guys were still saving fuel. So I'll say I don't think he was going to end up second without the fuel mileage.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But here's the thing. You win championships because things fall in place. Some of those are of your own making. Some of those are not of your own making.
Agreed.
But Kevin Harvick was close to a championship last season. He was the strongest guy on the circuit for the first half of the year, if not longer. Kevin Harvick, I mean, he's made an announcement. He's announced his presence. In some ways, I think he's made a stronger statement today than Tony Stewart.
Right. I mean, Kevin Harvick is a guy that I like for this championship from the very beginning of the year, just because I think he knows how to close out races and not give away points. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go for a fuel mileage gamble, you got a potential to give away points, and he knew he didn't want to do that. The fact that it came through for him, the fact that he ran second after, as I say, winning at Richmond, which, by the way, is a pretty similar track to New Hampshire. So I like his chances going into New Hampshire as well. You got to feel good about Kevin Harvick.
Well, and who would you say are Kevin's biggest challengers for the championship?
Jimmie Johnson.
All right. Jimmie Johnson is now 16 points behind Kevin Harvick.
Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon is now 25 points behind Kevin Harvick.
Carl Edwards.
Carl Edwards, okay, he's only 10 points back.
And Matt Kenseth.
Matt Kenseth is 24 points back. Kyle Busch is 19 points back. So Kevin Harvick took advantage of everybody else's misfortunes by not having some of his own and has positioned himself relative to his competition very strongly.
Yeah, I agree with that point. It's a very good point. Kevin's got an advantage now against the guys you would call the favorites.
Exactly.
I mean, the guys you would call the favorites all seem to have some kind of issue.
With the exception of Carl Edwards.
With the exception of Carl Edwards, who didn't finish as well as he looked in the middle part of the race there either.
He
which
finished
is another
well
thing,
enough.
if you look at this race and the way it started with Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle too, and David Reagan actually from back in the pack was pretty fast early in the race. The Roush cars weren't as fast, with maybe the exception of Kenseth, at the end of the race. That's something we saw at Michigan earlier this season.
Yeah, well, they start off strong on these mile and a halves and aren't able to finish it out.
Meanwhile, the Hendrick cars, like the Jimmie Johnsons and the Dale Juniors and the Jeff Gordons and the Mark Martin, they were not fast on that first run, but they made the right changes and got fast. So if you're Jimmie Johnson and guys and Dale Jr. too, you got to feel encouraged. And Jeff Gordon, too. I mean, the speed was there for Jeff Gordon at the end of the race. He had some issues, but the car was actually fast without those issues. I think you got to feel okay about your speed. If you're Roush, I'm wondering if you might be a little concerned.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Carl Edwards did finish in the top 5, but that was, again, by virtue of some of the poo-paws other guys made on the track. I don't know. I mean, they know how to make the cars go fast on mile and a half tracks. So I think that's half the battle, if not more, right then and there. They'll figure out how to close them out.
Of course, you've only got 4 of those left in the chase. You got to make up points on those tracks if that's where you see your advantage is. We'll see what happens. That's part of our look at the Geico 400 from Chicagoland Speedway. For Buzz Cutler, I'm Bassmasters. We'll see you next time.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.